And welcome to another episode of the CattleUSA Daily Podcast. I hope you all have had an absolutely amazing week. It has been great to get back into the groove with you guys after having a little bit of a week off and just be here with y'all all week again, get back into our routine, all of the things like that. And I'm excited to bring you guys another Friday segment where I've spent the week kind of watching our news headlines, seeing what's being released, what's dropping, and kind of just making a list of things that I feel are important to me personally and hopefully are important to you guys as well. I hope that the things that we're going to talk about today, you guys are able to see me kind of skim over the headlines, give you a really high level review of them. And then if you have any questions, want to dive into it deeper, you're able to go do that research on your own and continue to just watch it as producers and things like that. I think it's really important that we as beef producers stay really plugged into what is happening in not only the markets, but also just the world in general. And so I'm excited to be bringing these segments to you guys and all of the things like that. Again, I hope you all have had a great week. I am cracking myself up because today's Thursday when I'm recording this, right? Because I always record these a day earlier than they come out. And my dad called me yesterday. I was up in Nebraska for a work thing on my marketing agency side. I was doing event coverage for one of my marketing clients. They had a summit up there and we were there covering all of that stuff and getting marketing things. And I got a phone call on the way home. And when my dad calls, you never know what's gonna come of it, right? Like, I never know if it's like a just want to chat or like I need something. And he is going out of town this weekend and gave me a call because we had a cow that she's on the verge of death, right? And she's got a live calf on her. And it's like a couple weeks old, right? And he's like, it's doing fine, but it really needs to go to the sale barn. And our sales here in Manhattan are on Fridays. And he's like, I fly out on Thursday evening. Can you please take this calf to the sale barn for me on Friday? And I'm like, you know what? My HOA doesn't even let us have chickens, but you know what? I don't care. Like it's perfectly fine in the backyard. So he brought it here in the mom car yesterday, threw it in the back of the SUV, brought it here in the mom car, dropped it off at like 8:30 last night. And so, we have a calf in the backyard right now. It's entertaining. I love it. It's just part of life, right? So that's my funny haha moment for the day, right? So I'm going to be spending my Friday morning, walking out there, picking the calf up, putting it in my mom mobile, my SUV, and taking it over to the sale barn. And I want you all to just envision for like half a second with me pulling up to the sale barn, right? And we've got a nice line on a Friday. The markets are good. People are taking their cattle to the sale barn. I pull up in my mom mobile and I get in line with all of these semis and these trucks and trailers that are unloading, right? Okay, you're here with me, right? Yeah. And then I pull up to the drop off and just pop my back hatch, bring out the calf and be like, here you go. Have fun with this, and peel out of there. I am just envisioning how hilarious this is going to be. There's a first time for everything. I absolutely acknowledge that. And this will be a first time for me. And probably not a first time for the sale barn, honestly. Like, if we're being real, I'm sure that this has happened before. But the calf market is good right now, is the moral of this story. And I don't want a bottle calf. My dad doesn't want a bottle calf. My brother doesn't want a bottle calf. Bottle calves are the bane of my existence. And this baby's mom is dying. And so it is going to the sale barn. And you know what? I saw yesterday that someone sold a like sick little baby calf for like $1,000 at the sale barn. And I was like, yeah, that calf can go to the sale barn. I will happily be its transport to the sale barn on Friday. So that's my little haha moment for the week, for the morning. Give you all a little bit of humor, imagining me on your morning commutes and drives in my mom mobile in the line to drop off a calf with all the semis and everything. So I hope you all enjoy that. Anyway, let's get to the news articles. We had a busy week in agriculture this week and a busy week just in the news cycle in general this week, which honestly, if I'm looking back over the past few months, I would say it's been a busy news cycle for a while. Things are cycling so quickly right now that it was hard for me to pick topics that I felt like were relatable to us as producers, but then also topics that I was trying not to pick things that are super opinionated or super just like quick in the moment things, or like super new, really developing. I don't really have a stance to be able to talk about them, things like that, but still bring you guys relevant, timely information, right? Things like that. So first and foremost, I'm sure you all know this. I would hope so. If you listen to the radio, if you read the newspaper, if you're on TikTok, you know this, right? So on April 3rd, President Trump announced sweeping tariffs to our various imports, including ag products. These new tariffs include a 54% levy on goods from China, 24% on items from Japan, 36% on products from Thailand, and 20% on goods from the UK. There are others. I'm throwing that out there. I recognize that there are others that have gone into effect and stuff like that. These are some of the most impactful overseas deals that we have, right? So the most concerning aspect of this for us as ag producers is going to be the impact that it has on the ag sector. So particularly to the grain portion of the ag sector. C, they're both C's, right? China is one of the biggest buyers of U.S. soybeans. And so there are some concerns about the retaliatory tariffs that we could be seeing there. It is Thursday. Nothing has been fully released yet. A lot of people are saying, it's Thursday when I'm recording this. A lot of people are saying, like, there's been threats happen, right? Everyone's threatening each other right now. No one has actually signed anything yet. We don't know what's going to happen with all of that, but there are threats out there. So that's obviously concerning. Another aspect that is concerning, if you think about what we import from those countries, things like machinery or other materials or other pieces and parts that we may be using in our ag equipment, other sectors of our business, things like that, we will see increased cost, increased production cost, and all of those, and just things like that. So that's something important to keep your eye on, our tariffs and exports, new markets, all of those things, which I'm going to talk about. That's our last topic too, is talking a little bit about new export markets, but just something to really keep your eye on as producers who do really have a big stake in the global market as U.S. producers. The next one that I felt was important to discuss, which is also something that if you are currently in any USDA, any FDA, FSA loan programs, trying to apply for any, you're in a rural development, you're an ag producer, anything like that, you obviously know that all of these are like TV timeout, on halt. Not a lot happening with them right now, unless like there's special circumstances and it has to go through all these approvals and everything like that. So the USDA has continued to face substantial challenges in securing funding for a lot of these key ag programs. Now, when I say key ag programs, ag is very broad, right? So there's going to be key ag programs that impact us directly as producers that we're still seeing impacts on. But then there's also outreach ag programs that may not, if I'm reading a list off to you and you hear things like local food purchasing programs, things like, where are the others? I lost my list. Community focused initiatives for urban farms, community orchards, programs designed to combat food insecurity. You may like check out on me right there, right? Which I typically would too, but I think it's also important to acknowledge that the USDA does a ton of work on ag outreach into urban communities and really trying to reach those urban communities and promote agriculture. So we're seeing some issues and some hard times with securing funding for initiatives and programs like that are doing a lot of our ag outreach. So again, something to just focus on. I think it's important that if you are a local producer, taking this knowledge that's saying like, okay, so at the federal level, they are having issues with doing these programs. How can I, in my rural community, help with this, right? So that's getting in contact with your rural community leaders and stuff like that and saying like, hey, I want to do some ag outreach personally and working to make it not a federal thing, but a local thing. And how can we impact our communities locally? The next one I want to talk about is, again, I'm sure something all of you have probably seen, heard, talked about already, and I am 5 days late to the game now, right? The USDA released their cold storage report on March 30th, and one pretty concerning aspect of it was U.S. red meat inventories have seen a pretty notable decrease, with beef stocks down 6% to last year. That's a lot. That totals about 428 million pounds of red meat, which is intense. That is a lot of red meat. This drop is attributed to a lot of different just concerns and things that we've been seeing in the market. As producers, we're all really plugged in and have been watching this for a while, but there's still a really high demand for red meat, right? And so it's just a little concerning as we go into summer, and we typically see a pretty big increase in demand in summer grilling months, things like that, and just potential pressure that we could already see put on the market. But the USDA did release that report along with their other reports that there's a list of them, right, that got released this last week. So just something to, again, keep an eye on. Number 4, the final one. My dogs. I'm going to lose my freaking mind. I hope you guys cannot hear them right now. They hate the mailman with everything in their soul, And I'm just going to keep on. I really hope they're yelling at the mailman and not that calf in the backyard. Because let me tell you, last night I had the window open to our bedroom and my dog would not stop barking at the calf in the backyard. And she grew up on the ranch. Sorry. Had to, go deal with that. And it was not the mailman. There was not an Amazon package delivered to my front door. I am pretty sure that it was the calf in the backyard. My dog grew up on the ranch. My husband's dog is familiar with cows, but I think having a baby calf in the backyard of our suburban home is, they're not used to it, right? So had to go deal with that. Sorry. Back to our regular scheduled programming, right? Okay, number 4, and my final topic for today. USDA released, the U.S. Secretary of Ag, Brooke Rollins, has released her outline of a plan to visit 6 international markets within her first 6 months of her tenure, really focusing on expanding market access for American ag exports. This initiative aims to just strengthen trade relationships and open up some new exports for U.S. producers, especially they're really focusing on regions like Asia, Europe, and Latin America. And this also is really important to acknowledge that as we see tariff and trade talk, it's important to look at these new emerging markets, other areas that we can start focusing on as U.S. producers. And that is what Brooke Rollins is doing and the USDA team here is doing, right? So they're looking at this and saying, okay, things aren't going well with China. We're using trade and tariffs as a negotiating tactic for other things. And so we're going to see some backlash from that, right? And China has, they've got great potential. They're amazing. We love them as a trade partner in certain aspects, but there's also certain downsides. So we're going to see some backlash from all of this, right? So how can we make up for it in other markets? Specifically, look at the EU. That's a market that we have had such a hard time working with as American producers for a really long time. The stipulations, the non-science backed initiatives that they have, and just regulations that we as U.S. producers have to follow if we want our exports to be able to be accepted over there, right? So they're looking at that and saying, okay, this has been a train wreck to try and deal with, right? What are other areas that we can go really start doing some trade missions on, that we can start focusing on and things like that, and really start just developing new relationships with other emerging markets, like those in Asia, other European countries, and Latin America. So that is kind of what I have for this week. I hope that you guys were able to glean a little bit of just top news from the things that I've seen this week. Again, it was a busy news week cycle, but yeah, I will have all of these links linked down below if you guys want to go learn more on any of the 4 topics we talked about today and things like that. But as always, thank you all for listening. I so appreciate y'all being here and being early supporters of our podcast and all of the initiatives and things that we are trying to do and just continue to bring impact and success to all of you guys as producers. We appreciate your support. And if you want to continue to support us in a free way, just like, subscribe, rate, review. Truly, it does mean the world to us and allows us to continue to reach new producers and continue to make that impact within the beef industry that we are here to provide. So I hope you all have a great rest of your Friday, a great weekend, and we will see you all on Monday on another episode of the Cattle USA Daily Podcast. We'll see y'all.